where did you go? I said, me and Monica were online at drcreeksdepot.com. When your money goes first.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, everyone. We'll give it just a couple minutes here.
Lower, that goes further. Parker's Mill Outlet.
You know, we try to follow the news and share all with.
Welcome, everyone. We only have 17 people, so hopefully we'll have a few more joining us. But welcome to the Cherry Creek Steering Committee. I am your chair, Lou Raiders, and looks like we have a good group. I'm still expecting some of our presenters, so but we'll get started here. Thank you again for being here. Oh, there's Officer. Good to see you. And we're going to start today just with a quick update. I think you recall last year we had Judge Jackson present with respect to the Colorado 150 and the US 250 events that are going on this year. Well, we have a small committee working on an event, and Regina Jackson is working on that. I think many of you know Regina. She has lived in this area for a very long time and has been working hard with us on this committee. So I'm going to turn it over to Regina to give us an update on the special event that we're planning for Cherry Creek 150.
Question, Lou, do people know about the event, or should I start with the whole thing, introduce the whole project?
Well, we talked about the fact that we were working on an event, but okay. I will let you tell. We've got about 5 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. Right.
But why don't you just go ahead and tell them all about the event from the get-go?
So we are doing an event called The Untold History of Cherry Creek. And we are doing that because my family, the Pitts, the Scotts, the Jacksons, have been on 3rd and Garfield for 100 years. So we are celebrating that as part of 150 250. We have support from the Daniels Foundation. They're going to let us use their building. We have a small committee working on this. We have support from History Colorado. They are going to provide us a lot of stuff that we really excuse me, didn't have access to. And that is, we will be set up at the Daniels Fund indoors, and we'll have any number of rooms, maybe 8 rooms available where people can go in and do different projects. We'll have memory preservation kits, we'll have portable scanners, we'll have memory recording stations. I'm sorry. Photo displays. We'll also have one talking about preservation. So if someone has a home that they're interested in historical preservation, a fix-up or tax credits, we'll have people there to do that. We'll have show and tell, historic plaques, and the Denver Foundation will provide staffing. Excuse me. We have visited like 4 Mile. Jane on our committee visited them and looked at what they've been able to do. And we're very excited about this project because I don't think, we're now a very wealthy community. It didn't start out that way. It was flood prone. There were floods. Where the mall was the city dump. So we really want to do an extensive history of, who has lived here and why and where we are today. So we'll be bringing that. Gary is going to talk there's a homestanding. It's right on the corner of Harrison and 6th Avenue, the southeast corner. And it was one that his great-grandfather, William Pitts, built. So we found the names of the people, and Gary is going to pop in and have a visit with them. Let's see. Lou is going to be seeking donations from bids and other potential commercial parties who are interested. And Dale and Linda are going to create a food committee to look for food and refreshments at the event. So we hope that you will all attend. I think it'll be very interesting. And we're going to be talking to the school, STEC, and what's the other one, Lou?
Bromwell.
Bromwell. Nancy, my mother-in-law, actually started at Bromwell, and then when STEC was built, she went to STEC. So, there's a lot of history that we want to cover and talk about for those of you who are interested in history and want to learn. That's it.
Thank you so much, Regina. And we'll include this in the next few steering committee meetings as we get closer to the event to really tie it down. But just as a placeholder, put June 25th on your calendars, and it's going to be we're going to model this as sort of an open house. We're going to have the 150 year timeline in decades, what happened in Cherry Creek, who were the first peoples that were here, when did the dam get built so that the flooding stopped in the area. So there were a number of those things that I think it will be really good for folks to kind of look at it in the timeline. But really, we all know what Cherry Creek is now. What we're really looking for is the Cherry Creek 150, the untold story. I have reached out to Barry Hirschfeld. We understand he lived in the neighborhood. And so we know that there was a Jewish community contingent in the neighborhood as well. So we're trying to just get some of that stuff put up on the timeline. Who arrived and when was the mall built? And how did that change our area? And what were the trolley was here. Where did the trolley go? So we hope to hit on some of those topics too that are important for everyone. And so Regina and Gary,
thank
really
you for
brought
having
that.
me.
Yeah, and so it'll be a real fun thing, and it's been terrific to get this committee together with Regina, and look forward to it. So, okay. And again, we'll keep everyone posted on that. So with that, I am going to go on in the agenda, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilwoman Sawyer, who is here. I don't see any of the other council folks who have been invited, but thank you for being here, Councilwoman, as always. I'm going to turn it over to you for some updates.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Lou. It's great to see everybody. And what's going on? Lots going on here at the city. So I think most importantly, this was a question that we have heard from a number of different people over a long period of time, but the city has announced our new contract for license plate readers. It will be with a company called Axon. Axon does right now all of our body worn cameras for our sheriffs and our police officers and things like that. So we have a long-standing relationship with them. We have several contracts with them. So we are excited to move forward with them as our vendor for ALPR license plate readers from here on out. So really looking forward to that. And I know that was a question that a number of people had just on what comes next. So most of my time in this moment is spent looking at state legislation. So I run state legislation for Denver City Council and oversee what the city of Denver is going to take positions on and things like that. There is a lot going on at the State House right now. It's kind of extraordinary. I've never really seen anything like it. It's like an onslaught of information and a lot of movement. So that takes up most of my time right now. But there are some really good things that are coming from the state. There are some also really awful things that are coming from the state. So never a dull moment on those kinds of things. But nothing I think that I really need to flag for you all right now. The things that are really, really terrible, most of them we see in the last week or so die in committee. So that's great. And we'll see some other big things coming up in the next, I think, couple of month and a half or so. So for those of you who don't know, the state legislature works from January to May. So they have a very short period of time to get a lot of things done. So it just gets a little crazy. And that is what we are looking at right now. So I see Bill at a recent INC ZAP meeting, plans for a redo of zoning was discussed. Bill, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no plans for a redo of zoning.
I can update.
Can you-
They're just that
Yeah.
that's he's talking about the small bundle that they and
Ah.
we've been through that extensively, did a deep dive on how it would affect Cherry Creek, Bill. And I think we had somebody present a couple months ago on
Yes.
that topic at the steering committee. So if you want to dive into it, you can go back on the YouTube channel and pull that up.
Yep. So there were two things that would affect Cherry Creek. One was something looking at the Cherry Creek Design Committee, and then there was another one having to do with like antennas and technology on roofs and things like that. And so it was a very small bundle. It has passed. And yes, I really appreciate community planning and development coming and briefing the Cherry Creek Steering Committee on this, because I think it's really important that you guys are kept in the loop. So as any of those other things come up, I will flag them for you, but I'm happy to answer any questions in the meantime. I feel like those were kind of my two big updates for you this month. You're muted, Lou.
Any questions for the councilwoman? Thanks very much. And again, if you want to dive deeper into that mini bundle, and we did talk about it and how it would affect Cherry Creek, I can find which month it was, but it was a few months ago that we actually had them come and present to the steering committee. So we will move on and
Lou, sorry, one more thing I just wanted to quickly flag for everyone. The results of our community survey are out. Connor has the flu, so unfortunately he's not here today. And I have to go do pickup in about 20 minutes, so I'll stay as long as I can. But I just cannot wait until my children turn 16. But I did want to flag for you that information is in our newsletter this month. It's up on our website if you want to take a look at it. And what we're trying to do this year is actually break that information down by neighborhood, and not just statistical neighborhood, but much more discrete than that. Cherry Creek North and Cherry Creek East. It's sort of with statistical validation neighborhoods separately. But it's interesting information. It's always good to know. So happy to come and present on that kind of stuff. But if you want to know more before we do that, you can go look at it on our website. Thanks, Lou.
Thanks very much. All right, I will turn it over to first to Richard on all things bid.
All right, just kind of hello everybody, a short update today. So 250 Clayton is breaking ground, so the building has been vacated. It'll be getting fenced off, so we will have one of our large projects on Clayton starting. That's between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. That's a continuation of the north of 2nd, where Borough had the new building on the corner. They'll be continuing out that campus. At some point later in the year, Timber 225 will most likely break ground directly across the street from them. So more to come on that. I think we're waiting on some leasing activity for that project. Other than that, we're getting deep into spring projects right now. Things are starting to pop early. The lights will be coming down early next month. So we can get those off before the trees leaf out, hopefully, as everything's kind of springing a bit early this year. Short of that, we are kind of working hard on trying to mitigate the construction impacts of the neighborhood. You'll see new sign packages that have been placed out, and really trying to stack projects that are impacting the right-of-way in a way that lessens the impact to the neighborhood and the access to the neighborhood, so we can get people in and out and down 2nd. We have a lot of projects that'll be kind of staging one after the other. We don't want them to go at the same time because of the impact with closing the entire street down. So you'll just see a lot of construction activity in the neighborhood. So if you do have any concerns or issues, I would say please reach out to me and get me the information. I'll get it over to Pat. He's working with the city and with the projects on trying to lessen the impact to everyone. And that's really kind of what we have going on. Thank you.
Thanks. I know all of us know how difficult this is right now for the businesses, and so it's a tough thing. We got to really support those businesses and really try to keep our neighborhood active as we're going through this big change. But yeah, there's a lot of it. And I mean, at some point we'll put together a timeline on what we think will be breaking ground delivery. I do know that one of the things that Richard, I don't know if you can speak to this, but it looks like one of the things they try to do as soon as possible, as soon as they do a top off, which is finishing the last pour on the PT slab on the top, it looks like they're trying to open up sidewalk access and as they're bringing some of the construction in.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that in terms of the timeframes and how that works?
Yeah, it really depends on the project and how they're building out. And I'm gonna say safety is always going to rule the day when they decide to open up the sidewalk again. Most of our bid projects, like directly in the bid, we're pouring new right of way. So they'll generally keep the sidewalk closed until they pour out all the new right of way on the projects. You'll see with the floodplain, most of our buildings are having to come up, anywhere from, 12 to 20 inches are actually coming up. So you'll see the sidewalk. We're trying to avoid the sidewalk going like this, for those of you who can see me, and we don't have an ocean wave. So project, I think most of them will stay closed until such time as they can open safely. I do have a spreadsheet, Lou, that I can share that has targets of when they should start and when they should finish. The only concern with that is the start dates really do move. Right now, everything's really dictated on leasing activity. So projects that told me they were breaking ground in first quarter, looks like they might be third quarter as they're waiting to sign some deals before they pull the trigger on the projects. But once they do start, we usually have a really good idea on when they're going to be done.
Okay.
So
why don't we wait to share that until we're updated? And I think most of you know that the leasing activity just drives financing. They have to have a certain percent leased before the construction financing will issue. So so that's fluid, especially in a time when the economy is unpredictable. I'll just leave it that way. So so thank you for the update. We'll continue to try to follow it and try to put a pin in it to the extent that we can. So thanks.
We'll be pulling together a development report for the Alliance lunch. So when we do that, we'll be more than happy to share that development report, which really has the information not only for within the bid, but in the greater Cherry Creek area.
Perfect. Great. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Mike, I guess you have lots of big news to kind of share with everyone, at least to give us an update on the big transition of ownership of the mall.
Yeah, I don't know how much news I have other than I feel like I'm learning my job all over again. So no, it's all good stuff. I've been knee deep in very long process side of learning the new company. But aside from that, we've continued to do what our day job was, and I've got some great announcements on that front. This last month, we welcomed Skims to the center. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to come check out Skims. It's a Kim Kardashian concept. Phenomenal response that we've gotten from the community. So it's been a really good addition to the center. We also had a remodeled Athleta open up just recently as well. So that store has been all refreshed and all set up. And the last one I want to talk about was Captain Crepes. Captain Crepes is really unique. It's down over by the play area. Husband and wife, small business owners, phenomenal couple, really, really good people. So if you guys get the chance to get down there and support them, say hello to them. Zoe and Ben, just great people, and they make every single one of their crepes from scratch. So it's good food, both savory and sweet. So they have something for everybody. In addition to that, under construction still, we got Ashton Agave, which is finishing getting to the finish line here pretty quickly. I was in there this morning. Space looks great. They should be opening probably early to mid-March is what we're looking at right now. Gucci Expansions is underway still, and they should be open in a couple of months. Aroma 360, and then we're getting a brand new remodeled H&M. They're going down and redoing the entire store. Not that it looked bad before, but it's going to look gorgeous when it's finished. And that should be opening up in May. The last one, which I know the committee took a look at the exterior drawings, we've got Crate and Barrel locked up, so we're looking to them for a Q3 opening as well. So lots of excitement. That's just the stuff that I have in the pipeline right now. We got a lot of other stuff coming along the pipeline after that. So great stuff. Last thing I wanted to touch on really fast was for events. We're welcoming the Easter Bunny on March 6th. So if anyone wants to come down with the family and take a picture with the Easter Bunny, please come down and say hello. I saved the best for last, and probably the one that's going to generate the most questions, and the one I have the least amount of answers on is the remodel that I think all of you guys read about in the newspaper. So I'm actively working on that. I was on a call for 2.5 hours today as we sit there and arm wrestle over what we're going to do. I don't know yet. That's the quick answer. But I can tell you we're getting money, which I'm thrilled about, and I can tell you that we're definitely going to refresh the center. So that's kind of my pat answer right now until I figure out what's actually included in the scope of work of what we're going to be doing. So lots of exciting stuff happening. Drinking from the fire hose, but it's all good stuff. So thanks, Lou. Any questions?
I
Mike?
guess, oh, sorry, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Lou, just a quick question. Captain Crepes, were they at the Cherry Creek Holiday Market
Yes, they
in
were.
the past?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
with unique names like Ben and Zoe, I mean that's that. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
there's too many husband wife teams that make crepes with those names. But yeah, really nice couple.
Great story going from the holiday market to being in the mall. I mean, that is just
Exactly.
wonderful.
And there aren't that many small businesses in the mall, right?
We have some, but yeah, it is very challenging, I think, to be successful in an environment like that for mom and pops. But we're hopeful they're going to make it work. But I'm hopeful you guys can get the word out to the community and support them as well. So they're delicious. So I can
Do
endorse
they,
it.
I'm just curious, do they cater to?
Not that I'm aware of, but
Okay.
I'm happy to ask them if you'd like, and I can get back to you, Lou.
Well, it might be, why don't you do that? And maybe make an introduction because that's always good to know for our neighborhood events.
I will reach out
So,
to them tomorrow.
and I guess the last thing is I assume any changes that come with this increased budget and the change in ownership will go through Olga and then as a steering committee per the original agreement with the mall. That I assume has been assumed since it was a part of the original Taubman agreements. So I assume we'll see that, and we're just hoping that Simon will be as good a community player as Taubman was. And
I'm gonna say at least you still get to keep me for the short term till they get sick of me. How's that?
well, that's a really good thing. We're really thankful for that, and we'll have your back. So
Well, thank you.
yeah, we'll look forward to that.
Mike,
Appreciate it.
I have a
Yes,
couple
ma'am.
of questions.
Yes.
Ever since the beginning of the shopping center, the on the sidewalk, those ballasts that are those
Mhm.
concrete, they're kind of,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, um, they're there, and so that's a reality. But every once in a while something gets wiped out. There's an accident or something, some of that stuff. Is that your responsibility in shopping centers?
It's so funny you asked that, Meredith. I actually asked that exact same question in a meeting last week because I'm not sure. It looks like it's in the city right away, but I honestly don't know the answer. So I've got people looking into it for me.
Oh, great. And then the other thing, and I still can't figure out if I should be using that the bicycle pump for if that's in great condition. So if you could just look at it, it's a little tricky with a bicycle. It doesn't have, you might want to look at it because it is a service for the community. And I remember when they put it
I'm
in at
very
the very
supportive.
beginning.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
very
you
supportive
are.
of that.
Right.
And every time we see
And
it
then-
down, we get it fixed.
Right, I know. And then the third thing, it used to have a pressure gauge to it, so you could see that there was a pressure gauge. So, but it doesn't have that part to it now. So that's one of the things. A third thing is, do you have any idea if there are any plans to change what's going to be happening at the farmers market for the summer? I know it's far out, but it's not that far out.
We still plan to host it, and they still plan to come. How's that for a
Okay.
quick answer?
Great, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mike. Really
Thanks, Lou.
appreciate you showing up and being our ears and eyes over there at the mall.
Happy to
So
do it.
continue the good work.
Thanks, Lou.
Okay, with that, I am going to turn it over to Jenny. I need to make you a host. And let me get that done. All right. So Jenny Jacobs with Cherry Creek West, all of you know, East West Partners, is going to provide an update on all the good things happening in Cherry Creek West.
Okay, let me share my slides here.
And maybe, Jenny, you can just start with an overview of how the process is evolving and where you are in the approval process and so on.
Definitely. Does Are the slides popping up just so I can make
Yes.
sure I did it right? Okay, perfect. Yes, so we obviously worked closely together with the steering committee during our rezoning, and that happened in October of 2024. So over the last year plus, we have been busy working with our designers on the site, and there's a lot to consider. So I will share some renderings of where things are today, but we are definitely still going through the permitting process. We're on the early stages of that. So we've done several presentations to the Cherry Creek North Design Advisory Board, including one earlier this month in February, and we'll also be presenting again in March, April, and May. So just going through the process, lots of steps here, but we are starting demolition here in March. So just a few short weeks away. And in preparation for that, we have fenced the site, as probably everyone has seen. So next, I just wanted to share some of the renderings we have of the site today. I can start with the site plan just to orient everyone. So you've probably seen this one before. We have not, changed the uses or anything. The site is the 13 acres. So the boundaries are University, First Avenue over to Clayton Lane, and then Cherry Creek North Drive to the south. So Cherry Creek North Drive is a private road, and it does touch city property, which is where the trail is. But that road is part of the site. And since it is so large, we will be building the project in 2 phases, starting with the eastern half of the site, which is closest to Nordstrom. It is outlined here in the magenta color. So in terms of the buildings, per our agreements, there will be 7 buildings. So the light blue that is shown here are the 3 office buildings that are all placed along First Avenue because the office tenants, appreciate the visibility along that primary street. And then the dark blue here are the 4 residential buildings, which are all for rent. I know I get asked a lot about for sale here, but these buildings will be for rent, so multifamily. And then there will be retail on the ground floor of all of these buildings. We want the ground floors to be very active. We want this to be a very walkable neighborhood. And when I say retail, I do not mean soft goods. Obviously, Mike over at the mall has that covered, and Lululemon is perfectly happy in the mall. So when I say retail, I mean more restaurants here as well as services. So, that could be a dry cleaner or more another like fitness type tenant. And then on the restaurant side, the goal is really to have a mix of restaurant types. So, it's great that Cherry Creek North has Matsuhisa and Lake Colonial, but I think here we're really looking for different price points for those restaurants. So those are the uses. And then also in the first phase and throughout the project, there is a significant amount of space, over 4 acres, which is devoted to open space. So really, a lot of daylight is going to come through here. And you can see we have the Market Square, which is the gray area just to the south of 1 Cherry Creek, the first office building. So we've got that there for seasonal events that we can host. And then to the south is the green. So this will be a publicly accessible green space, which is quite large, and we're really excited about it. So that is phase 1 on the right. And then on the left is phase 2, which we have not designed yet. So that will be to come after we complete phase 1. And there is parking under the site. So we will be building 2 levels below grade with phase 1. So this first half will get 2 levels there. So that's the site plan. In terms of some renderings, the fun part, this is if you're standing there at the corner of First and Clayton. So if you're crossing from Cherry Creek North, to the site, then we have this plaza space here, which we've specifically pulled back. So similar to how in front of the Nordstrom today at the shopping center, there's the flowers and that space that's pulled back. We have, purposefully pulled back the office and first residential building to create this welcome place for pedestrians. Also on the right-hand side of the rendering here, you can see the 2-way protected cycle track that we have along First Avenue. And we also have this along Clayton. This ties into the trail which is, to the south of Cherry Creek North Drive. So I know there's been discussion about that, and Stuart even, talked about that in an email just yesterday, but I wanted to be sure to point that out to the group. But you can see that cycle track is adjacent to the sidewalk and then protected with the tree lawn from the cars. So we've got that. And then in the background here, we have the first the office building that will be part of phase 1. So this is an 8-story office building. You can get a sense of the design right there. And then to the left, we have our first residential building. And really this corner will lead you into a diagonal area, which is pedestrian focused, that we're calling the confluence. And this area will be flanked by restaurants on either side. So you can get a sense of that here, as well as in this next rendering. So this is if you're standing to the southern part of the confluence, looking back at Cherry Creek North. You can see the Hotel Clio there in the distance. So I think this helps, give that perspective of what we're trying to create here with the, real attention to the ground floor and really prioritizing the pedestrian. And we're also very excited about creating these outdoor seating areas that are, of course, within the UDSG guidelines for Cherry Creek, but just creating that opportunity for outdoor seating that is so wonderful in our state because we have the great weather. This next one here is along the internal road, which again is a private road that will ultimately go all the way through the site from east to west. We're only building half of it with phase 1 because phase 2 will be built later. But with the PUD document that was recorded with the city with their rezoning, do have the right to close down this road on a day when there's the farmer's market or any other type of event that's going on. So this is representing a day when that road is closed. And you can see here that this will be really, pedestrian friendly, prioritizing, people over cars here. So wanted to give a good depiction of that. And then this is the base of that first residential building. So again, along that interior kind of east-west road, again, like giving you a sense of how we want to have the active uses on the ground floor and also the attention that we're paying to the paving here and what we're doing on the first floor. That arched area kind of towards the back is the entrance for the apartment building for the residents. This image is standing kind of to the north end of the green, looking at the market square with the first office building in the background. So, again, a large, nice plaza space here. And with the office building, something we've heard a lot of demand for is tenants wanting outdoor space. So we've really tiered the building here to create these outdoor terraces for what we've heard is in demand in the market. And then also just making sure that a portion of the terrace is covered because obviously we do get a lot of sunshine. We want to make sure these are, able to be used. And so far we have presented this building to the DAB, and I think they've really appreciated this feature of the building. So it was some preliminary feedback we got. Next, this is an image standing in the green area, kind of in one of those building D, you kind of see in the key there in the bottom right. So one of the resi buildings in the second phase, like looking back at the green as well as the office on the left and the first residential building on the right. So again, like I think you can get a sense of the pedestrian pathways that we are prioritizing through the site to really make this friendly, and also, just starting to get a sense of how wide the green is here. This is an image in the evening. We wanted to kind of vary what we're presenting, not just all daylight. And so this is one within the green space, again, just trying to give a sense of what that will feel like. So you can see we're planning on these fire pits and seating areas. So the goal is really to activate this green space. We'll have, programming, there'll be the yoga, class or the, evening event here. But also, even if there isn't an event going on, we want to be able to make sure that neighbors and, people from the community can come here and enjoy it, on an everyday basis. So we like these gathering spaces with the fire pits and the seating. Here's another one, again, even further to the south of the site. So this is looking at the sun deck that we've placed on kind of the ground floor of the second residential building that is closest to the creek. So this is quite large. Again, open to the public to enjoy. And this area will get a lot of solar exposure because it is on the southern end of the site. And so we just, again, think this will be great for the community to enjoy and walk through and, sit here. And then another element that I'm really excited about with the project is that we are planning a playground. So it has not been fully designed yet, but we have engaged a group out of Denmark who they have actually done playgrounds around the world where they do more of these decorative, playgrounds where there's an animal or some kind of object that is integrated within. So we haven't decided what that will be yet, but here in this picture you can see the butterfly with the slide. And so we will figure out exactly what that is right here for this neighborhood, but we're very excited about the playground and really making sure that people of all ages can come to Cherry Creek West and enjoy it. So got that one. And then I think this is my last one, but some of you may have seen this one before. I wanted to make sure to include it because we are working very closely with Parks and Rec on the creek connection, which, I mentioned that we have the Cherry Creek North Drive Road, and then it touches the city's property where the trail is. But we did commit, in our development agreement to widen this area. It is currently 7 feet wide, and there are a lot of conflicts between pedestrians and the e-bikes and, walkers along here. So we'll be widening this to 14 feet and also creating a crusher fines path so that pedestrians or dog walkers, can use that versus the e-bikes perhaps using more of the pavement. Also cleaning up the landscaping here, adding lighting, seating. So all of that is to come and to be agreed upon with Parks, but that is also part of what we will be completing as part of phase 1. So I wanted to be sure to include that rendering again, just so everybody knew about that work. So that was my last one, but I'm happy to take questions or go back.
I'm going to respond to one question in the chat first from Bill, because we did address this at the last meeting, Bill. The where right now the walkway and bike lane on the east side between Nordstrom and the site is now closed, and we did talk about that. So there is no access right now on the east side of the project site. You have to go around to University. Where there was a little more detail on that discussion, I think, in the last meeting, and that again is up on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to go first to Doug, and then we'll go to Chris.
I would like to just follow up with that a little bit, because on the west side of the planned Cherry Creek West Mall, there is no sidewalk there. There's a dirt path there. Okay, and that hasn't really been a problem this winter because it's been an unusually dry winter. But you can kind of see that long term that path isn't really a workable solution for a lot of people trying to make it from the Cherry Creek bike path to Cherry Creek North. Of course, they can cross the street. You can cross the street over to the other side of the university, and there is a paved path there. But then that path is heavily used by bicycles.
But there's a sidewalk on the
west side,
on
no.
the east side of University along the site, isn't there? I mean,
No.
I think
No.
that's
There-
accessible, right, Jenny?
No,
That one
there's-
is not. You do have to cross over University
Oh,
to
okay.
the other
So,
side. There was actually never a sidewalk there, even
Oh,
before we
that's
fenced
true.
the site.
oh gosh.
I know,
Shows
isn't that
what I know.
crazy?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's true, but my point was that ultimately I imagine you'll be putting a sidewalk there,
Of course.
and the question is when could that sidewalk be? Could that something temporary be put in there so that we don't just have a dirt path? since the paved path on the east side is gone?
It's a great question, Bill. We did study this one for quite a while on our side, and unfortunately, there are utilities under that sidewalk on Clayton that is on the west side, so touching Cherry Creek West, and so we do have to go in there, dig it up, take it out, replace, and then also with the excavation of the parking garage that will start later this year, we'll kind of need to be butting up against where that sidewalk will go in the future. So I've also been corresponding with Meredith about this. So I'm happy to keep the group updated, but at least for the rest of 2026, I don't foresee a way that we could possibly bring that sidewalk back because we'll be taking it out to deal with utilities that are under the sidewalk. So
no, I understand the issues on the east side of the plan development. That's clear. You made that clear in
Okay.
the last presentation. You have utilities there. I get that. Understand that, and you need access to that. I'm actually just talking about the dirt path on the west side, which, as you pointed out correctly, has always been a dirt path. But since the east side is gone, the logical thing to do would be to put something on the west side of the mall, if that's possible. I realize you may have issues around doing that during the development process. But what you just showed me today was that you have the initial plan on the east side of the mall, and the west side is going to be deferred for a while. So it would be good to have a concrete sidewalk or some sort of temporary sidewalk on the west side of the Cherry Creek West development.
we will be required to add a sidewalk before we can open any buildings in phase one. So yes, long term, there will be a sidewalk, but there's a lot of work to be done with the city on that edge of the site, including, I know this group is very focused on the First and University free right turn there. So I think all of that is still part of the permitting work we're doing with Dottie, and I don't have clarity on that today. So I couldn't say, oh, we could move our fencing on the university side over 5 feet, no problem. Like, unfortunately, I do think we're going to have to be doing work even on that with the city. But I'm happy to keep the group updated. I definitely understand the concern, and yes, you have to cross university,
or you have to go on the east side, just go through that, go on the east side of the mall. Cause it's really, if you go on the bike path that is on the north side of the creek, you've got that walkway that goes over and you can get around that way if the issue is getting into Cherry Creek North.
Well, that sidewalk along Clayton Lane is gone. Okay,
No,
that's
I'm
gone.
talking about of the mall. So you just go around to Steele, basically.
Yeah, that's one potential solution, but a lot of people like to walk along the Cherry Creek path, and there's some people who are people who work in Cherry Creek North who use the Clayton Lane path as a means to get to and from work in the mall, and other people are just casual walkers along the Cherry Creek Trail.
So I'm watching a little bit on our time, and we have a couple of other presentations. So good points, Bill. We'll take those up. And so I'm going to go first to Doug, and then Chris, and then Rob.
Gotcha.
Yeah. My question has to do with the green space. I just wanted, maybe it's just because of the way your diagram was, that it seems like you've scaled back some of the green space in the plan, and maybe there's a lot more hardscape than we had originally looked at. And I just want to know, are you still meeting the commitments that you made for keeping open space when you originally presented the plan, or has that been scaled back?
Yes, there's a very specific calculation for open space, and today we are beyond the commitments that we've made because we feel that is extremely important. We are working with Design Workshop, nationally recognized landscape architect, and when we went to them and said, hey, let's do the giant green field. They really pushed back on that and shared with us that pedestrian people who are going through the site like to use it in more ways than just a flat green turf. And the fire pits and providing flexible seating and that sun deck are really ways to, I don't know, that people find engaging. And so as we worked with them, we really thought that those were elements that were appealing and were great and great adds to the site. Actually, on the sun deck, that was something that we had been proposing, even back a few years. So we were really excited about that as well. So I hear you. Yes, like instead of doing football field of turf, the plan does include more of those fire pits, the stage area, which can accommodate, small performances, not like huge rock band stuff. And then also the sun deck. So those were the elements that we've added, which are still open to the public, but not just the flat turf. And also part of that was also informed by going to other mixed use developments around the country that have added green spaces and talking to them and just talking about how those get used. And they said that flexible spaces are better than just plain turf. So I think a lot of things informed that, but anyway, that's just a little bit of background.
I'm going to follow up on that with one question. On the original plans, you showed a fountain, where in this current iteration, you show a sculpture and plantings. Is the fountain off the table?
We're still working through everything, but at the moment we are thinking more in the art direction versus the fountain. Yes.
Chris?
Sorry, I was muted for the whole thing and I just have to get over the thing. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It looks phenomenal. I do have one concern that is significant, and that is that as far as I can tell from the design, there's no bus bay or bus infrastructure along First for the 83, which is one of our more frequent routes, and which has a stop right now in front of Cherry Creek West, and currently stops in mixed traffic, which obviously disrupts traffic flow and provides for a less than ideal customer experience for us. So I was wondering, have you had any conversations with our staff at RTD about the transit impacts on the development and what we, and how we could make that work better?
100%. We did a very detailed infrastructure master plan as part of our rezoning process, which was recorded in October of 2024. Multiple conversations with RTD identified the spots where the 83 and the other bus line, so the one on University and First, will land. So I don't have a rendering of that yet, but yes, both of those bus stops will remain and have been, looked at by Dottie as well as RTD. And I think as part of the permitting process, your team is continuing to review every time we do a submission. So if you want to email me, feel free. I'm happy to tell you the names of the individuals we worked with along the way and are talking to now. Happy to do that.
That would be fantastic. I think I've got your email on the big email thread, so I can grab it from there. So,
perfect. That
awesome.
sounds great.
Thank you.
Chris. Rob?
So just to encourage you to keep building out the sidewalks as soon as you can. I understand that it certainly will be difficult to build this or to have the sidewalks put in while you're doing construction that's right next to it. But if you can get the sidewalks in on either the east or the west side sooner, because having pedestrians go underneath University, it's really a blind, crazy roundabout almost, as bikes go underneath there. And there's often at least one homeless person under there that you have to watch out for as well as you zip down a hill. So that's just one comment. So Bill, I think you're really onto something on that. It would be great to get that back. In the green space that you're showing, is the green space for the most part all level, or is there much of a change in height to the green space?
It's mostly level. There is, yeah, it's mostly level. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it does. It just does look a lot different now with, I think because of the lack of the fountain and more of the hardscape as opposed to some of the grass that you had, which is, I can't, it's not the direction that looks better, but I understand your point about the better use. So, but yeah, that's mostly it is the sidewalk issue. So if you can try and get that in the planning sooner than or as soon as possible, that would be appreciated.
Understood.
Meredith asked a question about maintaining the mayor's plaque. So have you had any discussions about that? That is a plaque that was dedicated in 65.
Yes.
So,
Keeping that. Yes.
okay.
Yes, we're working on that.
So does that mean that you're going to be maintaining it? I know it's an odd situation, and Steve Helms, when we first did the last major thing, development agreement negotiations, he was very generous in terms of maintaining it. Now, I don't know if it's you or, maybe it's split between you and Simon, but just having somebody adopt it would be
Okay.
great. Thank you.
So, thank you, Jenny. We'll have you back on a more regular basis now that shovels are going in the ground. So I appreciate that. We have a few things to get to, and Officer Fuentes asked if he could go next. So sorry, Stuart, I'm going to bump you one more time so that we can take the officer about the street racing. And would you like me to have you screen share, officer? Or do you just want to talk to us?
No, I can just talk. Sorry to bump you again. I do have a meeting at 6:30, so not to be an inconvenience to anyone or everyone, but in our CRO team, I'll kind of just explain it to you. It's myself and John Silva. AJ Pacheco was with us, but he had to be a school resource officer because of our short staffing in that area. So what we do ask, just to get to the main topic for street racing, I guess that was the main issue that was going on, or when I had received the email for this meeting. We do have a street racing task force that you can report to online. It's at reportstreetracing.com. They do not monitor that 24/7 because they don't work 24/7. But what they do is when they do an operation, they look at the emails or requests that are sent. They try to develop I guess a pattern that's going on, and they try to preemptively go to it. So our last operation that they did was February 21st. I have a dissertation to that. If you guys email me, I can email you the after action report. But basically what it was they met up at 2750 South Colorado Boulevard. They had about 200 vehicles meeting in that parking lot. They were able to identify and arrest the organizer of that because he did have warrants and they towed his vehicle. So there is some enforcement action among street racing. One thing that I wanted to make clear was that if you do see street racing in Cherry Creek, I guess if you're on First and it goes to Spear, anything like that, we ask that you still do call it in. I know that it might seem like it's not going anywhere or anything like that, but we really need the data for that in order to show and implement those resources to that area. Because like I said before, we are short staffed. Our sergeant on Graveyard, Sergeant Lippert, has been working it a lot. And we've identified spots at 2750 South Colorado along with the tech center. So we really do need those calls. And if you want to run something by me, I'll leave my email in the chat. And then I can just email me and then we can get to the bottom of what your guys' issues and concerns are. I don't want to take up too much time because we have more people to get to, so I can answer a few questions if you guys have questions for me.
There's a question in the chat from Meredith about whether the same reporting goes for motorcycles.
Yes. So if you see the motorcycles that are in groups and driving recklessly and stuff like that, we do ask that you do call that in so we can monitor it. One of the things is we've had to kind of become a little bit smarter because per our policy, we're not allowed to chase these vehicles once they leave, especially in the Cherry Creek area, because it's heavily populated, and we realize that when we turn on the lights and sirens and they run, it poses a risk to the public. So a little bit things that we do is if we identify it, we kind of try to maybe tell them or follow them. One of our officers ended up following them at Alameda and Colorado not too long a time ago, and he just kind of got out of his vehicle, walked up to the guy, and threw him off the bike and arrested him there and there without any lights or sirens or anything. So we're not going to know that unless we do get those calls. So please do call those in.
Susan pointed out in the chat that she lives just off 8th Avenue and she said she could call every night. I hear that from people on 6th as well. So if you would put, we have a couple questions to get to here, but if you could also just put the call-in number and your contact information in the chat, that would be appreciated, or maybe just give it to us so it'll also be captured for anybody who wants to write it down.
Yeah, and it does matter where it is on 8th Avenue. Where is the cross street? Because on that side on Cherry Creek, I believe our cutoff for the district ends at 6th. So it depends on where. Yeah, I could check the map again, but our district is very weird with it. Comes on 6th, and I think around another street it goes up to 8th and then comes back down to 6th towards Broadway. So it depends on where you're at, just the way the map is. So if you are calling it in on 8th, it could be going to District 6 and not District 3.
Okay, Race Street, but anywhere up and down. 8th between Colorado and Broadway, I'm sure.
Yeah, I believe 8th is, Race is a part of, might be a part of District 6, but I'll email you, or I'll send the email and get back to me on that, and I'll make sure that it's going to the right route. If you are calling in, please say yes to call our contact so an officer can contact you when they arrive on scene. Maybe the suspect is still in the area and we need a better description of them. When you say no to call our contact, when we get in the area, we do not call you back, and we have no leg to stand on when we're trying to look for the suspect. So please say yes to call our contact. If the officer doesn't call you back, email me and I'll see what happened with it. So that way we can have that direct line of communication and make sure that these calls are getting where they need to be and the resources are getting where they need to be.
Thank you.
And what is that number to call?
For the street racing, we recommend that you call it into our non-emergent line, which is 720-913-2000. And the reason for that is because street racing, unless there's someone getting injured or something like that, we want to kind of try to keep the 911 line a little bit more open. So the non-emergent line will still go to dispatch. You just might have to wait for a little bit and it will get on a lower priority. But if it does change, be able to articulate that. And if you need to call us more than once, please call us more than once, because things change all the time. So I'll drop the non-emergent line in there along with my email. So that way you guys have contact with me and we can follow up with whatever issues that you guys have.
Okay, Rob?
So yeah, street racing it's something that I've talked to several of the police officers about. One question is, I know that there is a new group within there that's starting to work with a drone. And I'm wondering, is that going to be used to try and obviously not pursue, but to monitor the motorcycles, since I know that you will not pursue that. And my comment or my experience with the motorcycles is at least 4 different occasions over the past 2 years, I've called dispatch for group for District 3 and said that there are motorcycles collecting at the Circle K down at, what is that? It's usually Alameda and Klamath, I think, which is by the Home Depot. And I've taken pictures and video where they are taking their license plates off as they collect. So they're, more than 10 motorcycles, and they're just actively taking their license plates off. And it's probably like 5 or 10 or 15 minutes to the hour. And they're going to head out in the hour roughly. When I've called, they've said, is anybody being hurt? Or does it look like do you feel threatened? And I've said, no, I'm just trying to stop the the racing and the activity that's going on. And I've said that the license plates are being unscrewed and put away. And there's never at any point as a police officer ever come down there. I've gone by multiple times. This has happened again. It's at least 4 times over the past 2 years. So I'd love if we could try and change how the police are responding to something like that, because I know that if it's motorcycles, they're not responding at all. That's my experience when I see this. So I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that concern. Now, if it's on private property, we have no authority on private property. So if they're taking their license plate off, it's not against the law to not have a license plate on private
At the
property.
gas station?
At the gas station would be considered private property, right?
Yeah, but you can't get it in the gas station or out without going on public.
Yeah, I understand that. However, when we're contacting them, they are on the property. So you see where that goes, and kind of now me as a community resource officer, what I try to do if it's a persistent kind of thing, what I try to do is try to contact and make resources with the clerk, which would have the power of authority over that property. And I try to let them know, hey, this is an issue that's going on. And then if they were to call us and tell us, hey, these motorcycles are here, we want them trespass from the location, then we would get them for trespassing. And then when they drive on the public street without a license plate, we can try to pull them over. But like I said before, they're most likely going to run. The drone itself, I know that the drone unit is a fairly new unit that we do have. I'd have to read the policy to see if they're allowed to go over there. But then again, we could have a drone, but they can't follow them all night because the battery's probably going to run out, So
Yeah.
it's a very, very, very hard situation to tackle because they don't let us chase. Trust me, I wish they would let me chase. If they did, I would be back on patrol chasing these people all the time.
Well,
But
no,
it's very hard.
I think the policy of chasing the motorcycles would be, it's a good policy not to chase the motorcycles. But that's the catch-22. If you are not going to take advantage of the opportunity to go into a gas station to try and block them and collect them, then there's no other alternative that's going to be safe. I know that in New York State, they've been collecting and going after motorcycle groups, usually when they're stopping at a gas station. So I don't know if the distinction is they've seen them on the street and then they go into the gas station, but it's easier if you've got the group and you can walk on and say, okay, we can see the activity of them taking license plates off, or you walk in and they're, 10 out of the 20 motorcycles don't have a license plate or have a fake one. That seems like I guess this is a policy that we need to talk to the legal side of the city as opposed to enforcement.
Yeah, because in our policy, it says that we're not allowed to block in vehicles and we have to leave them an avenue of escape. So that is another thing that we come up with, right? I know that even in places like Chicago, when it became such a mess, that they just started collecting every single ATV and every motorcycle that they could find their hands on and impounding them. But here in Denver, we can't do that because it's a Fourth Amendment violation and we can't block vehicles in. So it is an issue that keeps coming up. A good question for that would be above my pay grade for maybe the commander or above him. But we do have he might have a little more insight because he meets with the chief just about every week. We do have a meeting on March 4th, which is our CAB meeting. I'm sure you guys have heard of it before. It'll be at 1625 South University Boulevard at 6 p.m. in District 3. And our commander will be there, our lieutenants will be there, and maybe it's something that we can maybe spitball ideas for a policy change or something like that. Because like I said before, the options for us to do things are very, very limited in that kind of sense with the license plate. And it prohibits us because in order to contact people and start enforcing it, we need to have some sort of probable cause that we can enforce. Private property, you come with license plate issues that it's not against the law for that. Blocking them in, that's a policy violation. Chasing them, policy violation. So it's kind of something that does need to change, because I know last summer too, especially up and down Broadway, we had people getting assaulted. We had other issues with them driving 20 motorcycles. We had to have an officer come up with an out of the box idea of getting out of his car a block before and running up to the guy, and then he ended up getting hurt. So it's a tackle that we all have to go in together on.
Yep.
But the only thing that I recommend is absolutely making your voices heard. We have the CAB meetings. I know that the chief might have stuff downtown where the citizens can come in. We have stuff at South High School where the chief comes in. Stuff like that. That's all I can say. If you guys would like to know what events that the chief will be at or when our CAB meetings are, email me and I'll make sure that I get that info to you and we can all make our voices heard, because trust me, the guys that I work with wish that we can do more. It's just that we're not willing to risk our jobs for it. So.
Okay, thank you.
On a related question that Rob and I have actually talked about before, along with Stuart, there are some vehicles where they modify the vehicle and is very, very loud, right? And sets off car alarms, and it's just loud. It's just one vehicle. They might not even be speeding, but they've got to be violating the noise ordinances. And because they set off alarms, especially when they go through Cherry Creek North and the sound bounces off the buildings, it can be a real problem. And what are the avenues to address those concerns?
Yeah, so the law says that you can't have it above 55 decibels between the hours, I believe, between 11 and 7 a.m. Now, there's no patrolman that has a decibel meter. That's neighborhood inspections that actually have those. So what we like to charge is disturbing the peace. Now, us as police officers can't have our peace disturbed. We would have to have someone be a willing and signing complainant of that. So if you do call in, and let's say if they're going down Cherry Creek and they're loud and they end up parking or something like that, then we would contact them. That's enough for us to at least contact them and identify them. But then we would need a willing complainant to sign a witness statement and say that this is the person that did that and they were disturbing your peace. So then we would be able to charge that person with the crime.
Can you use, everyone has their cell phone on them all the time. Can you use cell phone video that has pictures of the car or any of, sound as well? A lot of people in the neighborhood have decibel readers, and sometimes it's not at night. It's in the middle of the day. But still, if you've got somebody with a modified car that is almost like sounding like gunfire, setting off car alarms, it can be a real annoyance. Is there no limitation during the day?
I wish I can quote the actual part of what it is during the day. But during the day it would be titled as disturbing the peace. So that's kind of the fallback that we go on. I wish we could, have your guys' decibel meter and say, yeah, Lou has it and it's, set in stone. But I think we would get a talking to by our commander or our sergeant for that. So at the end of the day, we just charge disturbing the peace for it. So.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, thank you so much for being here. I know you got to run because you got to get in your car and go to yet another meeting. So we appreciate your time and your information, and I'm sure we'll meet again. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. One caveat I didn't mention too was we have a guest speaker for every CAB meeting. The District Attorney John Walsh is going to be there for this one. So if you have any questions for the District Attorney also, you're more than welcome to come. And again, that's March 4th at 6 p.m. Here at the District 3 station, which is off University and I-25.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If you could just, can you just stick that in the chat so everyone will have that? And then I think especially if Walsh is going to be there, I think that's a good time to maybe bring up some of those concerns on the policy side as well.
Yeah, it would be great. So we expect a big crowd, so come early.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, safe driving, no speeding.
No speeding. All
If
right.
you
Yeah, thank
gotta
you.
get across town, you better go.
Yeah.
No speeding.
Lights and sirens only. No.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you again. Okay, I have bumped Stuart now twice. And I want to apologize for that, Stuart, but thank you for being here. There's so much on transportation to go over, and we talked a little bit, and I sent out the statistics on the crimes or the traffic incident statistics. So Stuart, take it away.
Great. Are you seeing my slides yet?
Yes.
Okay, just really press presentation mode. I'm doing this to be efficient here. So a few transportation updates. The bond was passed by the voters, providing funding for a slight rebuild of the First and University intersection. As was mentioned by our council member, this will not be done by DOTI, the Department of Transportation, but rather a bond office that's hiring contractors to do the studies in lieu of DOTI. Now, when that will start, I'm not sure, but it is supposed to be this year, and I'd speculate that it's probably not going to be until May before we know more about the schedule moving forward. But that will be our opportunity to look at making it more functional for cars, people, and bikes, as well as to accommodate the Cherry Creek West property and their bidirectional bike lanes that are there. The Cherry Creek Trail widening project has, I would like to say it's on hold. We got the DOTI sent us the same drawings they used at the public open house and told us, if any of you got that email, that they listened. They obviously didn't. We got the same thing back. And in many respects, it feels like we're being forced to either take that very, very wide south side of 20 feet or nothing. And so when this will be revisited, when there is funding available, we can then discuss this issue. Contrary to what the city said, I talked to two traffic engineers about having a less than 20-foot area on the south side, and they both said that there are alternatives. So we need flexibility before we can address this particular issue. But it is in the long-term capital planning budget to be built eventually. Moving ahead, the Colorado BRT project seems to just kind of disappear. Overall, I went through all the numbers. I was very disappointed that the math did not end up adding up. What their plan is would cause a lot of congestion for Cherry Creek, and they have done nothing to accommodate Cherry Creek with that service. So at this point, we do not support the current approach. The fact that CDOT is more interested in getting that bus from Colorado Center all the way up to Colfax concerns me. This isn't about buses, it is about people. The biggest activity center, being Cherry Creek, isn't really going to be served. But they do plan on taking 2 lanes away from the traffic on Colorado Boulevard. You can imagine what that would do for our commuters coming up from the southeast, which is our primary origin for our workers. On a separate note, the city of Denver has asked the Denver Regional Council of Governments to conduct the BRT study for the Spear First Leetsdale study. This was not supposed to happen until after 2030. Many folks, including myself, had complained that makes no sense if you're planning other BRTs, and we really don't know what you're asking of us. And to keep that on the books without knowing what it is would be difficult. So they're going to conduct this study starting in the summer. They have an RFP out in the street currently to hire a contractor to do this particular study, and we can learn about what the objective of this service would be. I know that Dr. Cog will do better math than CDOT. I'm just a very logical numbers person, and when 2 and 2 equals 7, I'm always a little confused. So I hope we get it right in this particular occasion. I know it seems like it's out of place, but It just, planning every other corridor except for this one didn't make a lot of sense. Additionally, the city has hired a new contractor to handle the scooters and such. I think that many of us were not happy with the Lime and other scooters that were being provided in the city. The clutter factor was too big, and the speeds and accommodating, pedestrian needs were not being addressed. So now they've hired a single company to provide it. A single company that has all their employees as W-2. If you ever dealt with Lyft or Bird or any of the others, you know the turnover was phenomenal. They have 1099, so you orient someone to Cherry Creek and they're gone. But as you know, we were successful in capping the speeds of scooters in the section behind the mall between University and Steele under the current situation. But moving forward, VO is going to talk to us about where we need speed controls, where we need to have bike corrals and storage to ensure that these do not end up on the sidewalk. That is really a big issue. And I was very pleased in talking to VO. There's a lot of little tools that can be done to make them put them in the place where they're supposed to be. So if we do have these on-street corrals for bikes, the geo fencing will identify that the bike is returned in the approximate area of that box. If it isn't, they get fined, or they continue to have to pay for the bike until they actually bring it to a location where they're allowed to do it. There's a lot to be dealt with, and we're just getting oriented to VO. They will start operations at the end of April. But I do think that really this is a time to wipe the slate clean and do it right. Because right now, the speeds we're seeing with some of these e-bikes is really chasing our cyclists away. So we've got a rather competitive system and very limited resources in the way of bike facilities. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that RTD has increased the frequency on the 24. That's the bus that runs on University. We were very happy about that improvement. That will help us a bit. It's not where I'd like it to be, but it has improved. We are in discussions right now about improving the 3. The 3 is critical for us. It connects over to the west side of Denver where we used to get a lot of employment. But right now, with the various buses that were shut down coming from the west side, our labor market has shifted completely away from the west side of Denver and more to the southeast, which has made recruitment and retention more difficult. There are large overarching issues with RTD and how it's going to get funded. Right now, it isn't serving Cherry Creek to the way that it should be. The 3 operates on a 1-hour frequency. Think about that if you were a service employee and you missed the bus. It just doesn't work. So these are many issues that we have. I see there are 2 questions that seem, were they related to this? Trail from Steele to Colorado Boulevard and beyond. There are planned improvements for the trail, but right now, most of what we're looking at is going between Cherry Creek and downtown. If you look at the city's long-range capital investment plan, they have a major investment in the Cherry Creek Trail between downtown and Downing.
I'm sorry, Stuart, I meant for VO. If they could, because that's there's a lot of activity with strollers, older people, et cetera, et cetera. If VO, and I assume that they're doing both the bikes and the scooter thing, if they could limit speeds, because as I said, Kavad is there. You have and I walk that a lot. If they could extend that lower speed limit, that would be my concern.
That is very possible, and that's one of those things that I feel we're 90% certain I can get you that. So if there are other particular hotspots, let either Richard Barrett or myself know, because we're going to be sitting down with VO and we're going to tell them what we want for Cherry Creek and why it is absolutely critical for us to separate pedestrians from e-bikes and scooters, and to recognize that the Cherry Creek Business District is a pedestrian zone. So that may mean dismounting from bikes in various areas, but priority. I'm going to extend this just a little further unless there are questions immediately on these 5 points. Okay, let me move my slide. Come on, cooperate. Oops. No. Sorry
While
about
you're doing this, can you tell me who's doing the federal BRT?
Federal BRT is CDOT. It's in the same timeline as Colorado.
Okay, because I saw them up at the Far East Center. I was talking to them about their plans.
Yeah, I think that federal is kind of in the same boat as Colorado. I honestly believe, I'm not sure if BRT is our right technology. We made these decisions a decade ago. I hope that when we do our Spirleet scale study, we're going to look at whether this is the logical solution for our area. But CDOT's not doing it in a way that's helping really anyone. But I'll stop there. Any other questions? I want to point something out to you that I think is really important. Between 2017 and today, we have increased the drive alone rate in Cherry Creek. Counter everything that is out there. How did this happen? This happened, and I'm going to be very blunt, and that tends to be how I am. Residents wanted to overbuild parking continually in Cherry Creek, where we got to the point of 40% oversupply of parking. When COVID hit, those parking spaces got filled by individuals, and employers continue to subsidize employees commuting to work. We have incentivized driving alone. If you ever are upset about the difference between the congestion today and the congestion in 2017, our parking supply contributed to that. We've had dramatic drops in all the other modes. The solution for Cherry Creek is no one solution. If we get a good bus line fixed, it's not the only solution. The only way that we as a multimodal community with the densities that we're looking at is we need to look at all ways of transportation and try to match that where people are interested in different things. I want to point out that if we don't get our drive alone rate down in the next 5 years, we're going to be strangling businesses in Cherry Creek. People are not going to want to come here. We need to drop it by 20% and then by 2035. Now, if you look at the city's plans, they say 50% by 2030. But given the current condition of RTD and everything else that is unrealistic, the city has to rethink their goals about what they can do. This particular chart, I looked at the new developments that are coming in and the types of things that they are offering and tried to provide, I wouldn't say it's a precise science, but rather an educated guess about what we need to accomplish. And I'm not going to go through each one of these because I'll bore you silly with that. But if you look at, let's say, the bike and the micromobility, that's the VO and then our own personal bike at 8% in 2017. Commuters, 8% of our commuters were using bikes. We're at 3% now, and we can get that number back up if we start to fix some of the problems that we have. Leaving the Cherry Creek Trail in front of the country club, that very narrow width, and leaving it as an unsafe condition means we're not going to get to 8% of our solution. And there's a trade-off in all of these things. If we're not going to get 8% out of bikes and micromobility, where are we going to get it? Are we going to get it through carpools and van pools? 5% is about as high as we can get that number, and that number drops when transit improves. Ubers and taxis don't help. Walking is great. With new development like Cherry Creek West, I've built into the projection that we will have more people walking in Cherry Creek. And I wanted to underscore that microtransit has tremendous potential in our area. So as we look at these different things, my frustration sometimes is we don't think about what might happen with these decisions. We wanted over parking so we didn't have cars parking on residential streets, but that didn't help not having to have, controls over where people park. So I hope that as we continue to discuss various projects, think more broadly about what it means to be multimodal. We were built as a car-oriented community. The shopping center is designed for the suburbs. It was designed that way. We need to have a community that matches the density that we have. This is the formula that's going to help you from not going crazy with traffic. Sorry for the
Stuart,
preachy.
I want to bring something up. I'm glad that the shopping, Mike from the shopping center and Richard from Cherry Creek North are on the call. I know that Taubman years ago tried a model in one of their other stores, one of their other shopping centers, where they had a service that would deliver packages. I don't know why people drive alone. My hypothesis many times is you use your car so you can put your packages in it.
Yes.
And then I'm figure out, a way of looking at it. My feeling is that we've always had transit that just goes downtown. And, with the 83L and, the 3L and, many of those others, the circulators help to not just service downtown, but, maybe we can look at this thing more broadly. Where are people going to, and are you driving alone because you need to get groceries? And is there another solution? I don't know, but none of these numbers look very good to me. I walk all the time. But I have to tell you, I have had like 8 offices and none of them have been serviced by transit except when I was working for Parks and Recreation downtown. So, that's one of the challenges, that last mile. And I'm just trying to give, have us all put on our caps. Why are we going in the car and what can we do?
Well,
I don't know.
a lot of our retail workers live in Capitol Hill and Glendale. And they have one of the highest drive alone rates we have of any segment of workers in Cherry Creek. And that is because taking the bus is ridiculous. The 46 from Glendale is once an hour. So it doesn't make any sense. So they all drive. Same with Cap Hill. It's very difficult when, the 12 or the 24 isn't very frequent in connecting. So these are things that we're looking at, and microtransit might be part of that solution longer term. And these are just numbers I put in there. We could refocus this in a different way. But if we decided, say, for example, to fight VO coming into Cherry Creek, well, what's that going to mean for our traffic? And are we further tying our area up in a way that's not going to be healthy longer term? And we really can't keep pushing for rates that are parking supply that's above market levels. It doesn't create a healthy environment for anyone. Anyway, I'm preachy.
Well, we really appreciate your leadership on these issues. And we know that there are issues. We've talked about a parking district concept before. We know that there are parking structures and garages under buildings that are not open to the public. So when the public doesn't own the parking volume, you can't control it like you might want to. And in those areas inside the bid, I think have been suffering because of that. Microtransit, we know, would help with that first last mile issue. And if it's close enough, even some of the employee centers, if we could have a commuter that would go up into Capitol Hill and through Glendale for workers. Richard?
I just want to throw out to everybody from the bids perspective, I will tell you, we see mobility as the single biggest threat to the continued success of this neighborhood. So, we're working with Stuart, and we have some things that'll eventually probably come down the pipe. We're not ready to release them yet, but I think I can speak for myself and for Nick. And as we look out in the future, this is a real issue for us, and this is going to continue to see more congestion. So it's something we have to act on. We have to act on pretty urgently, actually, I think, and more to come on what the bids take's going to be on it. But just want to let everybody know that we are actively working on some solutions with Stuart and some other folks to at least try and get employees in and out of the district without having to bring vehicles in.
Fabulous. Thank you, Richard. We're almost at a close here. I want Stuart to maybe update everybody on the upcoming event and our award recipient.
Oh, certainly. I'm very excited to tell you two things. As you know, we have an event down at DU every year. It's called The Road Ahead. And this year we have the best speaker we have ever had before. It's David Zipper. He runs a podcast. He is the guru of transportation, the cool guy who understands technology and what the future holds. He's the hot item. He writes for the Financial Times. He writes for Vox. He writes for The Atlantic. So he's the person that media go to these days when they ask the question, what is the future of transportation? And we're very lucky to get him. So I'm excited to have that. At our event, we provide two recognitions. One is the Community Leadership Award, and I am so excited to say that Nick Lemasters is our recipient this year. Nick has really done a lot for our community. He's really committed to Cherry Creek beyond the bid district, and he really does have an understanding of what it's going to take to tackle our traffic issue, and being very supportive of kind of this approach that I'm describing now. The event is on April 21st. It starts at 8 a.m. and usually we provide some free tickets. This will be sold out for sure. I've already been told by many people. So once we get registration up and running, if Lou agrees, I'll just send that out. And hopefully we can get your spaces reserved in advance. It will be a great session.
Yeah, please do. And yes, I think we all say congratulations to Nick, and obviously Richard. We couldn't do any of this stuff without Richard. He also sits on the Transportation Solutions Board, and he gets this stuff. So we are so happy to have the bid leadership with Nick and Richard and frankly, all of you. So if we continue to focus on these issues and try to speak with one voice and advocate and stay focused on these things, together we'll hopefully make a difference and maybe a dent. Maybe we'll get a commuter one of these days. So thank you all for being here. It's 6:32. We're 2 minutes over. Thank you for your indulgence for that. And I'll be sending around the link for you to share with people who might want to watch this evening and get up to speed on these issues. So continue to send me any suggestions you have, but we will continue to follow a lot of these topics as well. So with that, thank you very much and good night.
Thanks, Lou.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Lou.